It's time now for perspective. On Tuesday, Myanmar's ousted leader Aung San Suu Kyi appeared in court alongside a number of her allies to face a litany of charges, everything from flouting COVID restrictions to inciting public disorder. Supporters of the country's pro-democracy movement and independent observers say the trial is bogus, a move by the country's ruling military junta to consolidate control following their February coup and their subsequent bloody crackdown on dissent. My guest today is Michael Charney, Professor of Asian and Military History at SOAS University of London. Thank you so much for speaking to us here on France 24 today. Now, Tuesday's session did cover a number of charges, including a sedition charge against Aung San Suu Kyi. What evidence is there against her, or is this really just a show trial?
This is essentially just a show trial. All these charges have been trumped up. As you know, the coup began on the 1st of February over charges that there have been irregularities in the election, and it was basically the non-cooperation with Aung San Suu Kyi and the NLD with a delay in installing the elected members in parliament. The military, after it seized power, it used the opportunity to seize the records of the Daw Khin Chee Foundation, a foundation that Aung San Suu Kyi had set up. Well, you've seen it in the news. Ever since then, the military has seized complete control. In the meantime, they've kept Aung San Suu Kyi incommunicado. She's met with her lawyers something like an hour and a half total since February the 1st. And they've used this entire time to pull any little strand together to put charges in place. Things that others are regularly do, and they do, have all been directed at her. So we have things like her bodyguards. She got walkie-talkies for them, so that's violating the import-export laws. And they had a radio, which violated the telecommunications law. And she supposedly flouted the COVID restrictions, which is violating the national disaster law. And by the time you total all these up, they've added something like if she's found guilty on everything. And by the way, when they charged her, they've already said, at least in one case, that they already decided she was guilty. If you total all these together, it's something like 51 years. She'll be in prison until she's 126. And it's very likely, with the way the court system is controlled by the military, that she'll be found guilty on everything, and whatever she isn't, and I don't think she won't be found innocent on anything. They'll just create some more charges. This has all been designed to keep the NLD and Aung San Suu Kyi out of competition with the military. If they do hold elections again, the NLD and Aung San Suu Kyi will be gone. You can't run for you. First of all, if you're convicted, you can't run for office anyway. At least for some of these charges, not a certain number of years. But if you're in prison, effectively, you can't run. You can't hold office anyway. So this is, no matter the outcome is, she will be found guilty on something, and enough that will keep her from competing with the military. That's already a foregone conclusion. The kind of witnesses they brought together are people like police captains and stuff like that, people who are under the direct control of the military. There's going to be no independent witnesses. It's people either in cahoots with the military or people under their direct thumb.
And who then, in your opinion, sorry to interrupt, who then, in your opinion, is this trial for? Who's the intended audience? Is it the world's media? Is it citizens of Myanmar? Who is it, really?
I don't think it's for the world. They have not. There are not enough media spots for her to be put forward in that direction, and it's not for the people in the country. Obviously, they don't care what the people in the country think, as we can see with the coup conditions. This is so that they can preserve that 2010 Constitution. And they want to have their cake and eat it too. They want the 2010 Constitution to be preserved in the way they originally intended it to function, but they don't want Aung San Suu Kyi and NLD around. They figure that if Aung San Suu Kyi and the NLD aren't around, the myriad of different ethnic and other parties available means that they can turn them against each other, and they've been very effective at doing that. That's what they've been doing for 50 or 60 years with ethnic armies. The big challenge they've had is they just didn't expect Aung San Suu Kyi and LD to present this kind of overwhelmingly formidable opposition to the military-backed party. And so this is all to suit the needs of their keep the constitution, but get Aung San Suu Kyi and LD out.
And this trial is, as you mentioned earlier, closed to the public and the media. How reliable are the reports we're hearing from within the court?
We will only hear what the military wants us to hear, it's not even to again repeat something to show you the degree to which this is a fake trial. She has not been given access to her lawyers except for 2 half-hour sessions in 5 months, and a smaller period of time in between. There have been 3 meetings, probably an hour and 15 minutes total. There's been no adequate opportunity for her to prepare a defense. And there's concerns that there's other things going on. So a month ago, she looked very healthy. Now she looks very sick or ill. So it raises some questions about, exactly how she's being looked after under military care.
And of course, protesters, opposition voices, international governments have all been calling for a return to civilian rule since the coup on the 1st of February. As far as you see things, is there any chance of that happening in the near to medium term future?
No, I don't believe there is. To be quite honest, ever since the beginning of the coup on the 1st of February, I didn't think that there would be any meaningful international intervention. The rest of the world is noisy, and they're on the right side. Most of the rest of the world, Russia and PRC aside, most of the world is on the right side. But there's no leverage. There's no material way in which they can intervene in a way that they would accept the reciprocal costs. So I don't see this situation changing. The only way it is going to change is if the NUG and Dr. Sasa and the ethnic groups get all together, and as they are doing right now. But the only way out is a long-term struggle with the military. Unfortunately, it's just another civil war. Nothing else is going to shake this.
Michael Charney, Professor of Asian and Military History at SOAS. I'm afraid we have to leave it there. Thank you so much for speaking to us on France 24 Today.